G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. Today we're going to be having a first look at a model of water box which is brand new in Australia, the LX series. We have one here that we're going to show you, we're going to look at the features, and we're going to show you what it takes to set one of these awesome tanks up. So let's have a look at this tank. This is the LX190.4. It's 127 centimeters long, it's 75 centimeters wide, and it's 60 centimeters high. It arrived to us in two crates, pretty much the same sort of size. The tank and the cabinet. Now the cabinet comes together set up. We're going to have a closer look at the cabinet in just a sec. But the fact that it comes practically pre-assembled is one of the big differences from past water boxes that you'll have seen us set up. So this tank is going to be the new display tank in our new Gallery Aquatica at Salisbury. So it's really exciting for us to have a look at this tank before we really do too much to it. However, you can see that this tank isn't entirely complete. We have to attach the doors, we're going to get the filter ready, and there's also an interesting power supply section of this tank that we'll have a closer look at. So let's start by looking at the filter, and we'll get that ready to be set up. As I said, we only just have received this tank, and so we haven't really done anything apart from take the tank and the cabinet out of the crate and put the tank on top of the cabinet. So I'm just looking at the filter, and there's all of this plastic wrapping that I'm going to take off so I can see it better. There's also the foam to protect it in travel. We've also got some slotted ducting, which is one of my favourite things. That'll be used for cable management, I'm sure. Alright, so I'll just take all this apart. We have an automatic top-up reservoir, an RO reservoir here, which I'm going to try and pull out. I should probably mention, I haven't really read the instructions, so hopefully I'm not doing anything wrong. But I'll take this out. You can see it's quite a large reservoir for a tank this size. Lots of protective packaging. Okay, so that's all of our protective packaging off. I'm going to put the RO reservoir back in. And let's have a look at the sump configuration. Now, it seems to me that we've got our plumbing is going to go in at the back section here. It's going to flow through two 7-inch filter socks, which I might just put in place now. One, two. The water then passes into this front section. Now you've got two sections that either of these sections you could probably run as a refugium or as a skimmer section, and there is a removable baffle if you want to make it into one large section. Now I have an idea as to what I'm going to do with this tank for a nutrient export system, and surprisingly it's actually not a refugium. I almost always run refugiums, but I'm going to try something a little bit different with this tank. But we'll talk about that in later episodes on this tank. Now, the water then passes through a coarse filter padding into the return chamber. So this is where we'll put our return pump. So a relatively straightforward sump. You'll notice that there's definitely no space in this cabinet for a chiller, so your chillers will have to be external. The other thing that I mentioned before is that these stands are different to other water box that we've set up in the past, and they are actually they have an aluminium frame. Everything looks really durable, really resistant to water damage, and so far I have to say I'm very impressed with the look at this setup. Let's have a quick look at the power control section before we start putting together some of this cabinet. This is the area that is going to become our control center for the tank. We'll have controllers for pumps and wave makers in here, and probably transformers as well. Now, being the first one of these tanks that I've ever seen, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to come together. I thought it would be a good idea for us to have a look at this tank and the control center before we actually do any assembly on it at all. And this is exactly as the tank has come out of the crate, and the cabinet as well. These white strips were exactly like this out of the crate. All we have to do is put on the white panels. So, time for me to do a little bit of assembly on this tank. The cabinet arrives in a crate with a few different boxes, and one of those boxes is the plumbing, of course. We've also got some hinges for the doors. The doors themselves, or these could be the side panels, I'm not too sure yet. There's another set of those there. You get an overflow cover, that's the easy part. And these interesting pieces, which I believe are something to do with the electrical control center. So I do have some pretty good instructions here, but I'm going to kind of fumble my way through and see how much of this I can put together without any help. Alright, start with the overflow cover because that's the easiest part. So your overflow cover looks like it's glass or something. It's pretty nice. Okay, so you can see that there's this groove. I can only assume that that is going to be so you can still attach a light bracket to the section behind your overflow, which is a pretty good idea. A lot of people do have to cut that out of other models. These must be the doors. Yep. Okay, you'll notice there's two hinges at the top and one at the bottom. So that makes this one the right door, the one underneath will be the left. So I've got the hinges here. I'll put the doors on, and then it'll look like a cabinet. Alright, I'm going to put this door in the cabinet. So I'm just attaching the door to the cabinet, and I did wonder about why the ATO was separate from the sump. And definitely one good reason for having it separate is it means that we can take the ATO out, we can slide the sump across, and it then makes it much easier to get in and drill these hinges on. See what we do. Alright, so that's our top half of our false wall. Now the bottom half. So we've attached our false wall, and you've got a couple of different options as to exactly where you position the hinges, depending on if you want to have more space on the front side or on the inside. But that's all gone pretty well. I'm just having a look at the plumbing for this system, and it is what I would call standard Waterbox plumbing, very similar to the plumbing that we've seen in previous models. We've got the standard main drainage line with gate valve. That'll be the top end with a basket strainer, which I think is particularly important to stop snails and things ending up in your gate valve. There's a secondary drainage line, and we have a return line that has manifold points, but most importantly, you'll see it has the corrugated flexi hosing, makes it very easy to use. So we'll set this up when we put our water box in its final position. We're not going to set it up today, the plumbing up today, because we'll need to take the tank off the cabinet to move it into its location. These systems are particularly heavy, so you do have to be very careful whenever you're moving them, and having the plumbing set up before we move it is a bit of a risk. So let's have one last look at the system. It was a few months ago that we decided that we were going to have a Waterbox LX190.4 as our new display tank at Gallery Aquatica, Salisbury. And now that I've seen it, I have to say it was well and truly worth the wait. A lot of the features of this system really appeal to me, in particular the aluminium frame of the cabinet. Knowing that there's that extra support for such a big tank is really peace of mind, but I love the idea of cabinets that are particularly durable long term. I also like the easy opening side ends of the cabinet. The sump design is good. I personally like the fact that the sump is occupying the entire space within the cabinet, because I almost always like to run my chillers external to the cabinet anyway. I love the power control system. I can't wait to get some of the guys doing some really good cable management on that. But most of all, what I really like about this tank are the dimensions. And it's a particularly high tank. It's on a very high cabinet, and so the height of the tank is perfect for someone to really view the tank. It's a beautiful dimensions. Also with the width of the tank, 75 centimeters wide, is going to allow for some excellent options for aquascaping. So this is going to be the new display tank at Gallery Aquatica Salisbury. If you have any ideas for the name of this reef tank, please leave them in the comments section. We're going to be doing a series on this tank, and so we'll need a really catchy name for the title. But that's today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing.
That's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure you've subscribed to our channel so you don't miss an episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!